Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from your favorite Halo YouTuber. Yes, I'm gonna keep saying it until you believe it. In my last video I mentioned how there isn't really much going on with Halo recently, and how I haven't really been gaming or thinking about Halo, because there just isn't really anything to talk about. And on that video, my blood brother, Matthew Blood, asked a question in the comments, wanting to know my thoughts on a Halo spin-off game. He mentioned Halo Marines or Halo Harvest, which are obviously very broad topics for a Halo spin-off game. So I've spent some time compiling my thoughts on a Halo spin-off game and wanted to share some ideas with you. But before I share my thoughts, what do you want to see for a Halo spin-off game? I believe it was Bonnie Ross that confirmed that they are going to be moving into side projects and spin-off games after the release of Halo Infinite. So share your ideas in the comments, and maybe we'll get to see your ideas come to fruition in the future. Now this is probably pretty cliche at this point, but at the top of my list for Halo spin-off games would be a Flood horror game. I've heard plenty of different people mention this as a contender for Halo spin-off games, and it isn't an original idea on my part. But the lore behind the Flood with the way they use your nervous system to take over your body is truly horrifying. And there is so much to explore with this idea. The Flood spores all over, leaving a thick haze in the air. Low visibility as you try to escape your inevitable fate. There are so many ways to go with this idea within the Halo universe. And no, Angry Joe, it won't just be another zombie game. I realize horror games are a niche genre that may not have a big crossover with the current Halo fan base. But come on guys, fall is in the air, and spooky season is upon us. There's no better way to be introduced to the horror genre than a Halo spin-off game. And it could be a great way to expand the Halo universe. They could have it take place during the Human Forerunner War, where you play as ancient humans being used as test subjects in the Palace of Pain. You could play as a Marine during the Flood outbreak on Alpha Halo, or they could make you play as a civilian trying to escape Flood infestation. Gameplay wise, it doesn't need to be a first person shooter, it could be third person. And if you play as a civilian, they could go the Outlast route where you aren't even shooting enemies, you're just trying to survive. There are plenty of ways to take this idea, and I'm honestly not that creative. But a Flood horror game is absolutely on the top of my list of Halo spin-off games I want to see. Next, I would like to elaborate on Mr. Blood's idea of a potential Halo Harvest. Because honestly, what better setting for a Halo spin-off game than the first contact humans have with the Covenant? And being the certified Halo nerd that I am, I have read the Contact Harvest novel, and would love to seeing that story recreated in a game. The Halo Harvest spin-off would be the perfect opportunity to bring back a fan favorite character in Sergeant Avery Johnson.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Halo fans are desperate for Sergeant Johnson to make a return, even going as far as conjuring up theories on how he could have survived Halo 3. Spoiler, he didn't. Although we won't see Sergeant Johnson in Halo Infinite, Halo Harvest will give players not only a chance to see him again, but even play as Sarge himself. After all, it wouldn't be right to have a game centered around Harvest and not have Sergeant Johnson be the main playable character. Regarding mechanics, I feel like it could mirror ODST similarly in that you aren't as strong as Spartan 2s, but you're as close as it gets. You were going to be a Spartan 1, part of the failed Orion project. They could mimic ODST's health system since you obviously wouldn't have a shield or Spartan armor, taking less damage and being less nimble all around. But you're still a total badass. I mean, come on, you're Sergeant Johnson. It's been a few years since I read Contact Harvest, but from what I recall, most of the book was building up to the first meeting with the Covenant. Sergeant Johnson was on Harvest training a militia to take on the insurrectionists before they run into the Covenant. A battle breaks out during the meeting, and Sergeant Johnson works to evacuate everyone on Harvest. Obviously, the spin-off game couldn't be completely centered around the one single battle with the Covenant. So maybe they could have flashback missions as Sergeant Johnson fighting the insurrectionists, explore the lore behind the failed Orion project, or maybe have the game include the Covenant side of the battle as well, just as the book does. This could give players the first opportunity to play as Covenant soldiers other than the elites. You could play as Tartarus and explore his journey as he grows into the badass we run into in Halo 2. Or we could play as the Jackals that are stealing ships around Harvest, which sparks Sergeant Johnson's deployment on Harvest to train a militia in the first place. I really think that playing as different species would be a cool addition for a spin-off Halo game. I know it wasn't taken too well initially in Halo 2 playing as the Arbiter, and people hated playing as Locke in Halo 5, but those were mainline Halo games. I think a Halo spin-off game is where they should take liberties in giving Halo fans different characters to play as. And I think playing as a Brute or Jackal, as well as Sergeant Johnson as you build up to the first contact on Harvest, would be well received by fans. These are all just general ideas, and I'm open to changing them around. So let me know what you guys think. The only thing I'm sold on is that a Halo Harvest spin-off game where you play as Sergeant Johnson needs to be a classic Halo FPS title. I wouldn't want this game to be made as a different genre. But I think a Halo Marines spin-off game would be a great place to explore a new genre for Halo. This idea is so broad that it could really encompass anything, any time period, any location previously explored in the Halo universe, or a new location. It could take place in the past, present, or future of the current Halo timeline. And with so many possibilities, I think we need a game that allows those possibilities to be explored. I think a Halo Marines spin-off game should be an Elder Scrolls or Mass Effect style RPG. I think a game of this magnitude would provide 343 or any developer a license to make the game to go wild with creativity and imagination. With an entire galaxy to explore, a main quest with multiple additional quest lines, and player choice to determine how the world plays out. Imagine having a questline for insurrectionists versus UNSC, where you could pick a side and play out the war similarly to the Civil War questline in Skyrim. You could literally join the insurrectionists and take down the UNSC if you want. Or another questline where you literally turn on your species and join the Covenant. There are so many possibilities in an open world RPG for a Halo spin-off game. Imagine starting off as a small Marine in the UNSC, working your way up the ranks and captaining your own fleet. Or you can choose a different route and become an ODST Helljumper, and eventually proving yourself to be such a deadly threat that June shows up to recruit you for the Spartan 4 program. There could be multiple worlds and Halo rings to explore, Covenant worlds, UNSC or insurrectionist controlled worlds, and even Forerunner worlds. They could have a questline where all the missions are built around sneaking. You could sneak around Oni bases, searching for files, and trying to unravel their secrets. It could even end with you sneaking into Midnight Facility to free Benjamin Giraud. It would finally give some purpose to the Hunt the Truth storyline. There could be a science-based storyline where you work with Forerunner tech, trying to figure out how it works and engineering it into something humans can use, eventually leading you to a battle against Cortana. They could even have a squad system where you choose companions such as Chief and Blue Team, or Fireteam Osiris if for some reason you found them interesting. There are endless possibilities for the way an open world Halo RPG could go, and I think it would be the perfect idea for a Halo spin-off game. Obviously, with all these different ideas, the developers might run into issues with Halo canon, Obviously, some of the things that happen in a game as expansive as this would inevitably conflict with Halo lore. Maybe they could make something like this and make it non-canon. I honestly wouldn't have a problem with that, although maybe some Halo fans would be against such an enormous game full of secrets of the Halo universe and not have it be canon. If you'd have an issue with it being non-canon, let me know why down in the comments below. And that just about wraps up my general thoughts on some potential Halo spin-off games. There's obviously endless potential with how vast the Halo universe is, alongside all the different genres of games. With the recent success of party games like Fall Guys and Among Us, I thought about how a Halo party game would look. There are already a plethora of Halo minigames within the FPS titles that are showcased in the Action Sack playlist, and the ideas shown in these game types could easily be converted into a full-on Halo party game. But when I think of a Halo spin-off game, I think of a side game that expands on the Halo universe and lore. I wouldn't really consider a party game full of Action Sack-esque minigames a true spin-off game. But like I said, there are infinite possibilities for Halo spin-off games, so let me know what kind of ideas you have down in the comments below. And be sure to let me know if my ideas are any good. Should I be sending my ideas to 343 Studios? Or are you guys just happy I never made it as a game developer? But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in our next video. Later.